welcome to the Asking Autistics podcast. I'm Lindsey, Brains and Spoons.
And I'm Rivera Bonbon, finally not broken anymore.
Yay! And today we are joined by our friend, Rivera. Lyric, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes. My name's Rivera. If you've ever heard of me anywhere, it would probably be under the name Neurodivergent Rebel. I have been online for about 8 years now, sharing about my journey. As 8 years ago, I was a late identified autistic person. I still am, but I mean, I've gone through that journey of finding out what the heck that means to me. And I also am the author of the best-selling business ethics book, Workplace Neurodivergent Rising.
Yeah,
this is my baby. Because my workplace broke me, which is really what led me to being diagnosed autistic.
Relatable.
And I didn't want other people to have to go through that, because a lot of what I experienced was totally preventable and really would have cost the employer nothing to fix and change. But really, I was met with just so much misunderstanding and people not knowing what autism was when I was newly diagnosed, both in the workplace, but then also like with my family and people I met face to face. Nobody knew what autism was, or if they did, they had a very narrow idea, and it wasn't me. It was usually young. It was usually a little boy. It was usually someone who hadn't developed the coping skills that I've developed after being expected to be able to cope in a world with no support my entire life. Like, I haven't been given the grace.
If you want to hear something funny, listeners, I told Lyric this earlier. So I've had the same experience growing up. I got diagnosed in 2011, but I don't fit the stereotypes way back in 2017, 2018-ish, because my mom knew how frustrated I was with constantly hearing that. My mom used to send me Lyric's content before I was ever an autism content creator. And she was like, this person speaks like you. I was like, oh, and now we're friends.
And that's so funny, because I never would have known that if we didn't do this here today, because I've always been a fan of yours. I'm like, you're so fierce. And I love the fierceness. And I admire it. And, Lindsey.
It's the trauma.
I know, right? It is true. And then Lindsey's just like style and glam, but then also your videos are just so cute. And you mastered TikTok. TikTok was not my thing. Never was. I don't know. I just didn't master it, but I've always been in awe of your TikTok videos.
It's so accidental. Like, I literally just was like, oh, I guess I should try this and see what these buttons do. And I took a video of my kitchen and was like, here's how I organize for my ADHD, so I don't forget that, like, everything exists. And I went to bed with 6 followers and I woke up with 1,500, and it just kept going.
Wow.
I find it funny because I don't think any of the three of us intended to become like online content creators or autism advocates, and we all just kind of like fell into it accidentally.
I feel like that's the best way to do it, though.
I agree.
Because we see people now who try really hard. Like, they come in and they're like, I want to be an influencer. And you see, like, they have all these strategies and they're trying to do all of these different things. And you realize, like, that's not authentic.
No.
And we can tell.
And when people ask me for advice, that's literally what I tell them. I'm like, just be real, be you, be authentic.
Yes.
Don't try to go viral. Like, don't do it for the virility of it. Like, do it because you have a mission. Like, I've been doing this because the resource didn't exist. And I created the resource I needed because it wasn't there. And I tell people, like, I would actually really love not to have to do this work. Like, I would love to do this until my job is completely obsolete. And then I'm going to go do art and roller skate and do something that is not so important. Like, that feels so, I feel like I have to do this. And there's like this pressure, and it's not always even that I want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like it's a calling I feel kind of obligated to do because there's a problem and I'm obsessed with it and I literally just can't let it go. If
that
I solve the
autistic brain
problem,
is like, if there's a problem, I must fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Monotropism. No, but that is in the internet community. Like, that's a long time. You're an OG.
No, it really is.
You are this expert in the community that people quote. People will constantly, post your tweets, bits from your blogs, things that you have said over the years. And so it is fascinating to then put it all together and be like, oh, wait, Lyric is also Neurodivergent Rebel, which is also like, and also the author of this book, like, oh, these are all the same person. And that's always like blows my mind, just how much of an impact you have had on the whole community. In fact, the name of our podcast, Asking Autistics, comes from a hashtag that you originated.
Yeah. And
like,
I love that. I love that you're using it too. And I love that so much. Like, I'm not very possessive of my content as much as I should be, but I know I really should be. And I didn't even get possessive of my content until recently when I got in trouble because Facebook told me I had a copyright violation because somebody else uploaded my content. And then I was like, okay, now I'm annoyed, but only because I got in trouble for posting my own content. Like, I'm not possessive of my content.
Like, somebody else gets to steal it, but I don't.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, like that annoyed me a little bit. But like Asking Autistic, like that's my baby. I'm so glad it took off because like really what it was is I started on Twitter back when it wasn't what it is. And Twitter was my home. I loved Twitter. And it was kind of similar, Lindsey. Like I just was like putting out, like I was newly diagnosed. I was alone in my diagnosis because the people around me, even though they were autistic, they didn't know they're autistic. So I couldn't share I'm autistic and this is because I'm autistic. Because they'd be like, everybody does that. Or I do that and I'm not autistic. And I'm like, and so like I didn't have anyone to go through that journey, and so I was looking for people to like, hey, they may relate to this experience, and so I was doing these like questions, and I quickly figured out like there was actually autistic was like the main hashtag every autistic person was under, and everything else was non-autistic people talking about us, often in horrific language that was very stigmatizing, talking about us like we were bad, like things to have around, but we didn't have hashtag where people who weren't sure yet if they were autistic or who were actually allies, parents, caregivers, people who wanted to do right by our community and wanted to ask their questions, but they couldn't because if you used actually autistic and you weren't autistic, you would get jumped on really quick, which I understand why, because we didn't have any spaces of our own. But at the same time, like our allies needed a bridge. And so Asking Autistics was my way of building a bridge so that whether you're autistic, or you're not autistic, or you think you might be autistic, like it's a hashtag for you to connect with the autistic community. Because I know with the work I do with businesses and workplaces, I really am against segregated pipelines. I'm about everything being like universally designed and creating a culture an organization where everyone is able to come and be their best selves and not have to leave parts of themselves behind and able to.
That's how you build true community.
Yeah. So like, it's like building an organization that is more like a community. And so where it's like autistic people over here and not autistic people over here, like I know we need safe spaces for us sometimes, but at the same time, if we don't have places where the diversity can all merge, like that's not diversity.
Yeah, especially because like for a lot of those parents of autistic people, and I tell the autism community this all the time because I do think we jump too hard down non-autistic people's throats at times for trying to be a part of the community.
And
for
I've done it, especially when I was new,
same.
Especially early on.
It's literally same.
I was like, I want to put that out there because I used to be pretty bad about this.
Same.
I was so angry when I first started.
Exactly. It comes from a place of that desire to keep parents of autistic children out comes from a place of hurt. A lot of us have been hurt by parents of autistic children because those parents of autistic children are also hurt by the lack of support that they've received from their community. And so when they are hurt by their community and they see that we are living different lives than their children, it hurts them too. But neither one of us really have a right to lash out at each other. But I always try and focus with the autism community and remind them, like, for parents who have children with significantly high support needs, that will be those children's only way of accessing community is through their parents. Because for a lot of them, they're not able to be on social media. Like social media is not accessible to everyone. And so for them to have their parent be that bridge for that person to hear things about who they are, hear things about other people, it does help. It's a necessary part of the community.
I love
it.
And
at the same time, like on the flip side is that we've had a lot of we always call it like autism mom TM, but there are these parents that come in with a warrior mindset who are really, really angry with autistic adults online.
Yeah. I've got one that's obsessed with me for years.
We're
not going to say her name.
Won't say names.
We all have them. And so it's not like in the past we were harmed by something. These are people who are actively
predatory,
seeking us out and predatory. Exactly.
Because I'm not like her child. And so she can't conceive that I'm autistic. And like, I had this person literally like demanding I show her my full 14-page diagnostic report. She wanted to see. Yeah. Like, cause the first page used to be out there. It's not anymore because I had my dead name on it. But the first page used to be on my Instagram. It was out there. I shared it early on because I wasn't hiding anything. but I don't share it anymore just on the principle because
Yeah,
now
well,
that
that's
you put it
fair.
out, like now I'm not going to do it. But it was just the first page, and it was just like for me to share with someone if I didn't want to give them my full report so that they could know like this is my papers, my documents, and I am legit. But but like now I'm like I shouldn't need that to be autistic, so I refused to share it now. But she wanted like, and then when I refused, she was like, that just means you're fake, and that's proof that you're fake because you did. And I'm like, yeah, no, because the same person like did that to other people and they did give her their private medical records. And then she was like, oh, your medical records are fake or you doctor shop. So it didn't matter.
I think I know which person you're talking about. I'm not going to name them. I have had interactions with them before. They asked me the same thing and I told them.
It's been like 5 years and they still make posts about me regularly. And it's not like, yeah, I'm just like, okay.
I literally responded to that. Show me your holistic diagnostics for.
Well, just for anybody out there who has a diagnosis, if you were ever fake claimed by anybody, if anyone ever says, oh, show me your papers, don't. You are doxing yourself. That is opening yourself up to harm. So do not do that. I understand like the motivation that you would feel like, oh, well, I can defend myself. I have this diagnosis, but nobody should have access to your medical paperwork except your doctor.
And don't give them your doctor's name either, because she then was like, well, just give me the name of your doctor. Because then, of course, she's going to go call my doctor and pretend to be me and get my medical records. So don't give away your doctor. Don't give anything. Yeah. So don't give anything away.
You don't have control where that goes after you've posted it once.
And there's so much private information. There's private information about me, my family members, not just me. Like, because it's a report and it talks about your family history. So there's not just my private information and secrets in there. There's like stuff from my mom that, doesn't need to go out. That's her private business. There's stuff from my siblings, and other people. Like that's, that's not for everybody.
It's not.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's no winning in that kind of a situation. And so the best thing you can do is to ignore those folks and focus block them and focus on the people who are seeking answers, who are looking to be educated, who are trying to build community, and who are asking questions in good faith, who are asking autistics. I think those teachable moments have been the most valuable, is those parents. And I know that all three of us have experienced this, is those parents who say, thank you so much for taking the time to put this out there and to explain things to me, to share your experiences, because that has helped me understand my child, or this gives hope to my child. I got an email last night because of all, some chaotic things. We're living in a very tumultuous time right now, especially as Americans. And I had a wonderful parent reach out to me and tell me that, they are with me and the rest of the community and anything that's going on, but also was very much like, hey, I show your stuff to my child and they are so excited that there's other autistic people, that they now know that, their special interest is a good thing, and that they will find autistic friends someday, and that they, who they are. Like listen,
I love it.
But that, who they are is valid and wonderful and important, and that just those kinds of things, like, especially when we're getting attacked, when you're having a lot of hard things happen, to get those little tiny messages,
I know, like
a
an
game
email
changer,
or a message and make the whole week sometimes. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to say before we forget too is like the other reason it's good to have these parents in your faces is a lot of times, eventually these parents will also realize they're autistic.
Yeah, that
because
too.
autism does tend to run in families. And so I've had parents who came because they were trying to learn about their kids, and then they've also learned they are autistic because they stuck around. And then that helps them bond and understand their child in a whole other way, because then they can see the similarities and how they relate to one another. And so, like, that's another angle too. Like, it's hard and it's frustrating. Like, autistic people and neurodivergent people who do not know about their own brains, like, in my opinion, are sometimes some of the most frustrating people to deal with. Like, my partner, my spouse, like, did not know they were autistic it took them 4 years after my diagnosis to find out about their own being autistic, even though I knew as soon as I was diagnosed, I was like, well, if I'm autistic, like I knew.
Autistics run in packs.
Yeah. And all of my friends that I had even before my diagnosis are all autistic pretty much, or neurodivergent.
My partner is autistic, and one of my best friends got diagnosed with ADHD and autism after I did.
Mm-hmm.
My partner is not autistic, but he tends to have autistic people flock to him.
Okay. Interesting.
Having people that are very caring and open-minded and understanding, I think that's is so helpful for autistic people and neurodivergent people in general. We will cling to those people because we don't find many of them. They're rare.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
And when you are one of those people, it's like we fly around you like vultures trying to pick at a corpse. We're going to get whatever bit of affection from you that we can.
I love that.
Well, I mean, I love birds of prey and corvids. So Riki knows the way to my heart. She's like, we're going to be like turkey vultures. And I'm like, yes, we are.
A client asked me for a program I'm giving, what my favorite bird is. And I was like, oh, it has to be a raven, obviously.
They're brilliant. Okay. No, this is not supposed to be.
They're so smart. And
they're so smart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm not going to info dump about corvids, but I love them.
You really could, because my partner is in the room right now and ravens are his favorite bird. So he would love to hear all about them.
Wait from anyone here.
Well, there's also this bird of prey that's very similar to corvids. There's this, it's called a caracara, and you should look it up.
We have them in Texas.
Fascinating. They might be the smartest birds out there.
I just saw one this morning. He flew over the car on my way here.
That's amazing.
But yeah, we have a lot of them.
I would like to befriend corvids. That's my goal in life, is to befriend some birds.
Yeah, I literally if I'm out there and there's a bird, I'm like doing bird calls and stuff. I'll call an eagle or a hawk back to me. It works sometimes.
That's amazing. When you're not calling birds, you are doing workplace trainings and teaching people about neurodiversity and how to have some effective DEI practices and things like that. For people who may not know, I think we should talk about what is DEI.
Yeah. So I'll start with the acronym, diversity, equity, inclusion. And then there's also an A that's a lot of time left off, accessibility, DEI and A. And so, we've got a lot of things that are under this umbrella. There's a lot more to it than people think. So for example, if you are going to go on maternity leave, that's part of DEI. A wheelchair ramp, that's part of DEI. And it's not even with my work as a neuro inclusion consultant, people focus often on hiring as a facet of DEI, but I honestly discourage people from even talking about hiring most of the time, because what's more key to it, and what most of my work actually is creating workspaces and then organizational cultures that are welcoming and inclusive, so that they set every single person up for success, regardless of their brain type, whether they are someone who is neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, all of those different things, or if they identify as neurotypical, if they are someone who does consider themselves to have this average brain, if such a thing exists. It's about everybody. And it's about how, when we have a better understanding of the different ways in which the whole entire human spectrum of brain works, differences in how we perceive and interact with the world around us, the differences in our communication. And we bring the assumption to the table that the person we're engaging with might not have the same experience we do. And so we need to be curious to learn what everyone's experience actually is, instead of doing what we do, is assuming everyone is like us.
That's what I hope people get from this conversation. That is what DEI is about. It's not about giving advantages to anybody based off of things they can't control. It's literally just sitting there with the thought process when you interact with somebody that they might not share your experiences. That's it. It's literally just taking yourself and your bias out of the equation.
Yeah. And then just realizing that what every single person needs to be successful in different workplaces, or even different projects or different environments, is going to vary. Sometimes, project to project, sometimes even day to day, thinking about, an example, I worked for an organization that was actually neuro-inclusive for a few years until COVID. And then I ended up on my own, which best thing that ever happened to me. But it was good to see the things like working and be in the organization that's doing it right. And like, I was the first remote employee. They didn't have any remote employees when I was hired. And then they're like, we don't know how that works. We've never done that. But instead of saying that's not how we do things here, which is what most companies would do, they're like, tell me how you would effectively work from home. Tell me how we'd know that you're actually doing things. And so I had already done it in another company. So I had systems. And so I came and showed how I could do it. And then, eventually after I'd been there for a while, the whole team was remote because we were more effective that way. And then in September of 2019, we turned in the keys to our physical office, which was really great because in March of 2020, the pandemic hit the United States and we were already remote. We were ready to go. We were non-essential. We would have had to shut down had we not made that change to be more inclusive for me and other neurodivergent people. It benefited everybody. It benefited the company. We saved so much money because we didn't have real estate we were paying for that we couldn't use. And, we also had, because I was like, I need a little bit of flexibility in my work schedule so I can kind of pace myself. And because, sometimes like depending on what I'm doing, I can sit for 12 hours and get a crap ton done, but then I might need to like come in later the next day or like, just kind of, or sometimes I'm like 4 hours and it was really taxing. So I need a break. And then so I need control over my schedule. And so that was my accommodation, but my accommodations were universally applied. Everyone had the ability to work from home. Their job allowed it. Everyone had flex scheduling. And so then in COVID, it also worked well for the parents who were now teachers. So we had a parent on our team who was easily able to just shift her work schedule around so that she could be off when she needed to be with her son who's 5 and can't sit on Zoom by himself because you can't just put a 5-year-old in front of the computer and say, stay on Zoom. So it worked well for everyone. It's like these things, like when we make it more inclusive, it's like we all benefit. And so it's not like elevating one group above the other. It's leveling the playing field and looking at things that might be holding people back and removing obstacles that are hindering people's success.
Yeah, my background is in special education and things like that. And so what has been interesting for me is that the things that I learned to do for my neurodivergent students, for my students with disabilities, have actually helped out in workplace environments because there are things where I realized that certain phrases, certain terms mean different things to everybody because, like you said, someone else has a different experience. So when they say, hey, the office needs to be cleaned or this workspace needs to be cleaned, I had the wherewithal to say, well, what does that mean to you? Can we write out what steps? What are the different, qualities, like, the different things that we mean when we say this needs to be clean? And that's when I had, supervisors and other people go, I never thought of that. And then they all realized I was thinking a different thing than you were. Yeah. And you were thinking, and then we realized, okay, that's where the breakdown was, is that if we set clear communication and we write it out and we say, this is what this means, then everything went a lot smoother and there wasn't this, frustration happening anymore. And so you're right. Like if you can make things a level playing field and make communication very clear and written down, but that also helps other people who may not have, ADHD or fill in the blank issues. But again, it helps your new hires, right? Because if you've got these procedures very clearly labeled in place, now it's easy to, for anybody to kind of come into that role and understand. And so you're right. I think we need to start looking at it as DEI isn't just like this, like, ooh, extra step or this special thing or, only benefits one type of no, that this helps everybody in multiple different ways.
And it's wild to me to see them going back like this when we've known for years. Like there have been studies and data just about diversity and how diversity is good for business because it's like we've already accepted now that having diverse perspectives lets us have more like different kinds of eyes on a problem. So you're more likely to see if something's wrong or you're more likely to get more out of the box creative ideas, but people are pushing us backwards. And it's like, if you have a bunch of people who all have the same experience, same background, come from the same place, they're all going to think the same way.
Yes.
So you're severely limiting an organization's ability to be innovative
People
and
seem
to
to
be
forget
creative.
we like technically won the space race, right? Like in putting a man on the moon. Why did we do that? Because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because we brought in women to
Yeah.
the
To
space and engineering.
sew the spacesuits, yes, because they couldn't figure out how to do those things, and so they brought in,
And not even just that. Not even just that.
Mathematicians, all kinds of things.
Black women mathematicians were some of the most integral parts of being able to create the technology that brought us to the moon.
Yeah.
That was diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Look about the Navajo code talkers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, if we look at any, going back, innovation comes from thinking outside of the box. And so you need multiple different types of experiences in order to innovate and be creative, like you said.
We even see this in nature. Like, this is why I don't understand how it's such a frustrating topic for some people. In nature, when things are not diverse, they die.
Yeah.
You don't diversify the genetic makeup, the species will die out because it will
look at domestic dogs that are really popular and how sick they are.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're genetically like the same dog, like one Labrador to the next, they're like almost genetically identical at this point, which I'm like, that's not good.
No, it's not.
Cocker Spaniels, German Shepherds, like, it's not good. My dog that passed last year, he was almost 18, but that's because he had coyote in him. And so he had a better gene pool because he wasn't just pet dog. He had wild coyote, and that's a big expanded gene pool. So he lived a long time.
And again, my dog is 10 or 11 years old. We're not 100% sure because she was adopted, but she's a Dachshund Terrier. And so she's got those Dachshund qualities, but slightly longer legs, which means people just assume she's a puppy all the time. And she is an older lady, supposedly, because her jumping ability is insane.
Wow.
But again, the diversity in her makeup, you're right, if we're talking about dogs, means that she doesn't have the health issues that either breed had because she's
what
like,
a Chiweenie was for. That's why they made Chiweenies.
Coming from the other side of the perspective, because my dog is actually, she's a purebred standard American poodle. I specifically got that just because, huh?
Oh, I love you're a pit bull. Sorry.
I wanted a pit dog. Listen, I wanted a pit bull. The universe misheard me and gave me a poodle. But anyway, she's a purebred standard American poodle. She has the worst separation anxiety that any of her vets have ever seen. And you know what? It's genetic because she has no trauma to lead to this. She was never abandoned. I got her the second that she was available. She had a loving mother. She had the breeder was really good with her. She has the worst separation anxiety. She can't be left alone. She freaks out. It's why she's not a service dog. She was fired from being my service dog. But
didn't work.
It's genetic separation anxiety. And that's because of a non-diversified gene pool.
Back to workplaces. We're all like, ooh, let's talk about dogs.
We did the info dump. This was fun.
We're talking about diversity still.
It's like a different point. But that's the thing. Neurodiversity is part of, it's like biodiversity. It's like the same thing. It's like we need diversity in our brains, and diversity in our brains is totally freaking natural. And then, people don't think about, like, especially in workplaces, going back to workplaces, that there are so many ways we can be neurodiverse. And a lot of times we only talk about the neurodivergences that we're born with, like an autism and ADHD. That's what most people think neurodiversity is. They don't understand that it's also pretty much anything that originates in your brain that alters your experience of the world or your perception or how you engage with the world. So communication. There's autism, there's ADHD, but there's also like trauma disorders, EID, things like that. There are like anxiety and depression, things, even
hormonal
things that are
disorders.
temporary. Yeah. Like a brain injury, like that's, even if it's in the short term, going to influence your experience, you are having a divergent experience. Even if it's a temporary divergent experience, or, because you don't know how long these things could last. Like there's so many ways we can be neurodivergent, and we can acquire neurodivergence. And this is one of those things, like when we know better, we do better. When I was first on this, I was like, no, you're only born neurodivergent. And I was like, because I didn't really understand. And now I'm like, oh, there's like so much more to it. And so I'm like, I want to make sure we understand that it's not just the things that we're born with.
A lot of veterans have been speaking up lately too about things is that I know multiple neurodiversity and neurodivergent advocates who are veterans who have traumatic brain injuries or extreme PTSD and things like that. And they're, or other disabilities that have been acquired in their experience, their life experiences. And they are some of the best DEI advocates out there because
I believe
they're
it,
like,
yeah.
hey, I didn't start this way. And I've had to relearn how to do things. But it helps again because they think about the systems and they think about strategy in a completely different way. And like you said, with your workplace, go remote. I keep going to say going viral. And I'm like, that is not it. Going remote is that companies that were able to adapt and who had already thought about, remote workplaces, Zoom was not a word in our lexicon. But how many of us use Zoom? Like there's so many people who are using it right now to record podcasts, okay? It became this major tool and this huge player when it comes to workplaces and education and things like that, that was an innovation.
And because we already knew how to use those tools, the business, because we were doing a lot of education in the workplace, which wasn't a thing in COVID, right? Because everyone was getting fired. But we also, since we knew how to operate a remote business with the team, we then were selling ourselves as people to teach other teams how to work remote. So it was really good for business on so many things. And I almost forgot. I was like, I just throw that in there because it was like our service line.
That came from diversity. That came from diversity and inclusion. And diversity and inclusion, again, I don't understand why people just continuously think that it's about giving handouts, because the things that you talk about with workplace experiences, especially in your book, those are things that are not, you weren't handed those things. You were already qualified for the job, but there were these barriers that made you unable to do the job that you are qualified to do. Barriers that shouldn't be
down, make you less efficient, or completely stop from doing work altogether. But it's all of these things. It's even if it's I could still do my job, maybe it's making my job a million times harder, or I'm getting sick from the fluorescent lighting while I'm working on it. It's I can technically still work here, but within 5 hours I've got a migraine and I'm going to throw up and I have to go home every day, So, it's understanding that we want to work, and it's not, we're not looking for special treatment or perks or privileges. We're looking for the tools that we need so that we can be the very best versions of ourselves in the given environments that weren't built with our needs taken into consideration.
You know what I hear constantly when I talk about accommodations is I hear people think, well, I mean, we would all love to do that, so why should you be able to? And my question to that is, well, why shouldn't you be able to?
Why shouldn't we all?
Why do you have to suffer? Why can't we both do this? What stops you from asking for the accommodation that is helping me?
That's what inspired this book. That thought right there, because when I asked my employer for accommodations after I was newly diagnosed, I asked because I was hired there mostly remote working. And then when I was in the office, I was working in the executive leader's office in a quiet, natural light area. And so I had no issues. And then we moved and they changed things around. And so I just asked, because I was really sick, wasting away, unhealthy, having seizures, migraines, just sick all the time. And I was I just need to sit in a quiet space with natural lighting, where I can kind of just reduce the sensory environment. And then they were oh, well, everyone would like what you were asking for, so it wouldn't be fair to give you special treatment. And we give those nicer seats to our management, and you haven't earned the right to sit there. And so it's not fair to you. And in my head, which I didn't
not fair
say,
to you?
Yeah, we're not fair to
anybody
else, and to give that to me. And my thought in my head immediately was well, and it was the same thing. It was if everybody hates your system, then your system effing sucks. That was my and then I went and looked for another job and quit. I could have done that job in my sleep. It was an executive assistant job. It would have been so easy had I just been properly equipped, far beneath my skill level, but I couldn't even do that job because I wasn't supported.
Then on the flip side, we've seen friends of ours and people we know, the grapevine, that even pre-diagnosis, they now know that they are neurodivergent. A lot of them now know they are autistic, but they were seeing these kinds of things. So there's a friend of ours, speech prof, who is this prolific content creator and educator and podcast host. Anyway, one day I'm gonna be like, speech prof, come on here.
That'd be awesome.
But he started realizing that like, hey, my students are coming to me and asking for accommodations. What would be easy is me just giving it to the whole class. So everybody has a flex schedule where it's like, if you need a little bit more time on the test, you get it. If you need an extension on a paper, you get it. And there's not like this whole, maze of regulations you have to go through. And he even said like, he just was able to make that choice. Like it didn't take this big, huge, amount of paperwork or something crazy. He was just like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. Like,
and that's the way it should be.
And he says his classes are incredibly popular. Like his value went up because of that. It didn't go down. People weren't like, oh, that professor's like a schmuck. Like, no, they were like, this class is great.
I mean, even just look at like Costco, right? Costco has doubled down on DEI initiatives. And look what happened.
In there. You can't go there now.
Their stock went crazy high. And you know what else they did immediately after that? Raised their minimum wage to $30 an hour. And they can still afford it because diversity, equity, and inclusion works. People don't realize it, but they want diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, I know so many people who are like, I'm so anti-DEI. But then when they see a veteran-owned business, they're like, oh, we got to support our vets. And I'm like, great, yes, we do. Yes. We got to support them. You're supporting DEI.
Yeah,
exactly. And they just won't believe it. They're like, that's not DEI, that's veterans. And I'm like, okay, but veterans are a part of DEI.
They are.
You are looking for a very specific marginalized group to support because you know their struggles.
When you get arthritis, because at a certain age, you will.
The disability community, you will join us eventually.
You get it as a teenager.
Not if, but when.
Yeah, disability. You will become disabled. You will. If you live long enough, you're going to join us. But that's the thing. If you have arthritis and you need easier to open containers at your work or your home or things like that, just having those things makes your life better, and they should be available to everybody, right? Like, it helps you. I mean, there's so many things where people, I think, are looking at accommodations like it's pie, right? Like if this person gets a piece and this person gets a piece, there's not going to be any left for me. And I'm like, it's not finite. It helps everybody. When I was working in special ed, we used to have to order fidgets. Okay. We used to have to order different things from a catalog, from a very specific special education, a disability catalog, and things were expensive, and we had to budget and get permission and things like that for different things. Okay. These becoming a trend. Okay. All right. Fidgets and things becoming widely known, and kids wanting them, parents wanting them, means that these are accessible and available to anybody that needs them now.
And the kids don't have to be singled out because they don't want to be singled out. They don't want anything that makes them different. And in the workplace, it puts a target on your back. So it's like,
it does.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's so many things where people are like as seen on TV products, right? Where they're like, oh, some people are like, oh, who's lazy enough to use that? And I'm like, the disability community needs it. But also it's one of those things where a lot of times those things do go viral and people get really excited about them. They're like, oh my gosh, like a Snuggie, what a great idea. Like a blanket with sleeves, right? And then you use it and you're like, this is super fun. And it's like, that came about because it was an accommodation for somebody originally.
And weighted blankets, which
used to be so
expensive. And now they're affordable. And
that's
so
the other
that
thing.
They were getting popular, and I'm like, no, this is good for us because I couldn't afford this stuff before.
When it becomes popular, prices go down, and that's actually literally just a fact for the way the economy works. It's my favorite fact to quote from the accountant, which is an autism movie. But prices of consumer products go down on average, not up, because there's such a demand, so they have to produce and produce and produce. It's the reason why, 20 years ago, a TV was like $200. Great. A TV is still $200 and now it's bigger.
Way better. Yeah.
And way better. But it's still the same price because prices of consumer economics go down.
Yeah, well, we're all wearing
Yes,
and things like that. Yes.
in my imagination.
So
I'm not wearing anything, but in my heart I am.
we're all using tools that are accessible now, and we could get, we can order online easily, okay, and afford, that weren't back in the day, okay? So noise canceling headphones help everyone. Life changing for autistic people, but they help everybody else. And earbuds now are offering things where they will amplify sounds around you. Those are accessible hearing aids.
Mm-hmm. And they're a fraction of what a hearing aid costs. So they're like $300 or $400, which is really expensive for headphones. But if you compare $300 or $400 to how much hearing aids cost,
oh yeah,
that's really small.
And you don't need a prescription. You don't have to go see a bunch of different specialists, and you don't single yourself different from everybody else. It's totally normal to see somebody with earbuds or headphones.
I actually have an interesting story about that. I used to work at Universal Studios in their cook department. I was a cook for like all the churros and turkey legs and things like that in the stands. One of the accommodations that I was able to receive, because Universal is actually really good about accommodating their disabled employees. Honestly, they have a really good track record with that. There were so many autistic people in that kitchen. It was weird, just because I'd never been around that many of us in person at once, and I was like, I don't understand this. But one of my accommodations,
autism cooking show. P.S.
That'd be so fun. But one of my accommodations was that I needed headphones in my ears. And I happened to have these ones from a brand called Rivera because I had done a sponsored post for them. Yeah. And I'm walking around, and one of my supervisors, one of the new supervisors who was kind of doing that a hard ass kind of thing because he was new and trying to prove that he's the boss. He saw me walking around and he saw my headphones in, and he goes, "Those are earbuds. You're not allowed to listen to music." And I was like, "These aren't earbuds. These are hearing aids." And he was like, "Well, prove it." And I pulled up Rivera and the services that they do. And like, because they were technically hearing aids, their job was to filter out sounds that make it difficult for me to process. And occasionally I use them as headphones.
Yeah, they do both, but they have clarification.
They have products that have been sent to me, specifically Loop, Flare Audio, the ones you just mentioned. That
I'm like the only person that Loop doesn't want to work with.
Oh no, they haven't sponsored me either. I'm saying this right now in the podcast. But hi, Loop, you should really sponsor a podcast from autistic people who is your main audience.
More stuff. They did one with me a while ago, and then my contact disappeared. I'm like, hey, is this is it always a thing, or did the code go away? Like I had a question, like, is the promo code still valid? And then I never got a response back. I'm like, okay. I was like, because I still have them, and I like them because they're a cheap, nice headphone.
You know what?
Earplug.
But they dampen noise. You can still hear. But what's great is that all these autistic people talking about it and using them and saying, hey, this helps with my sensory overwhelm, is that then parents started using them. People that just work in louder environments started using them. And these are people who would say that they are allistic, that they are neurotypical, that they are able-bodied, but they needed them. And again, like, accommodations help everybody.
One of the headphones that I actually use in my everyday life, they're from this company called Soundcore. Their app has specific noise canceling settings depending on what kind of location you're in. So they filter
Soundcore, out. You should sponsor us because I'm wearing all of your stuff.
I wear your stuff every day.
I turned on earlier that made that noise that I jumped out before we started recording. It's a Soundcore.
That's so funny. But what I like about them is that, like I can turn on the transportation noise filter so I don't have to hear. Because listen, there are a lot of train autistics. I am not a train autistic, but I have to take a train every day to get to school. And I am overstimulated if I have to sit in the front of the train because I just hear the whoop over and over and over again. And I'm like, please stop. Or there's the annoying buzzing and everything. But when I turn on my Soundcore transportation filter, that dampens like crazy. Yeah, but I can still hear the conductor announcing where we are, like where we're going. So I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, like the new hero. It's like, clarify the voices, dampen everything else. I'm like, yes. Because like the first time I I used them to like really test them out. We went to like a sports bar, which is not something I'd ever do normally, because we went to see a boxing fight. I wasn't my choice. It was just something someone wanted to do, and I was going to go. And I had these new Hero headphones, and it was like I could cancel the background noise and still like sit with the other people at the table. I could hear everybody. It was amazing because with, it just having that control, like just the fact that this technology exists, but it's good for everybody. Like think about like parents, like with the kids. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Like I know I was a very loud, obnoxious child, and had my adults in my life had devices to dampen some of my noise that I made, I think my life would have been a little easier. All of our lives would have been easier, and I have a lot of empathy because I'm still a loud adult.
A lot of teachers who have started using these tools for noise dampening because they need to be able to, hear and speak to one particular student, but all of the excess noise is too much.
Yeah.
Well, and even things like captions. I mean, we joke around in the neurodivergent community that I can't hear without my captions, but that was an accommodation that was made for the hard of hearing community, and it ends up helping so many different other people. Okay, and like I have grandparents with dementia and things like that, and having the captions on allows them to understand what's still going on. And sometimes they'll even read them aloud to the rest of us. Like it makes things
engagement there, right?
Engagement for them. And so like there's so many different uses again for these things that would not exist if they weren't accommodations first.
Yeah. And honestly, when I scroll my phone, my sound's on mute. And if your video doesn't have captions, I'm just going to scroll right past.
Same.
Oh, the auto caption tools that are now available because of TikTok, because of scrolling.
Because I could not caption my own videos before that thing. And that was the hard thing. It was like, I need captions. And people get mad at me for not having captions. And it was like, I need captions.
It's so much work.
I can't transcribe. Like I can't hold it in my head and type at the same time. I don't have the audio processing and I don't hear things word for word. So like I cannot transcribe something because my ears don't process the sound right. And so now that there's tools, like it's amazing because I like, trust me, you're telling me, I know I need captions. I need captions. So I understand I need them, but I don't have the ability to make them, and so.
I explained that to people so much before, like, because even when the auto captions originally started on TikTok, they were bad. And so like I either didn't use them at all or I didn't use them well. And people were like, it costs you nothing. It's
like,
easy.
You don't
it's
understand
so
my
simple
disability.
to work. I was like, no, baby, it's not. And it's just frustrating because that's another example of how people are not able to step out of their own experiences. Because again, a part of diversity, equity, and inclusion is, like we as disabled people don't have the same experience as other disabled people. Like we don't have the same experience as other autistic people. And the whole idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion is to just keep that in mind, that you don't have my experience.
Yeah, exactly. And not expecting everyone to just like conform themselves to the dominant experience and like to, like marginalized people, like depending on their identities, like a lot of times we are asked to leave parts of ourselves behind, where we could just think about how people are like, oh, there was this person I encountered the other day. And it's like, I just don't, she's like horrible. Said, I just don't understand why they have to like be gay in public. Wow. Like, and like, they want you to leave a part of yourself behind. But it's like, we wouldn't tell a straight person, don't hold your partner's hand in public, So it's just like the double standards. Like, we don't want special treatment. We want to be allowed, like, just to live our lives like everyone else does.
It's the equality. It's the equity portion of this, right? It's just basic everyday things. Well, there's things like this where I taught in the public schools and then and my friends are in private schools, and there are all of these dress code rules that include things like visible tattoos. So in the beginning, I had very strategic jewelry and things, right? That would cover those up. But when I moved to a different facility and they didn't have those requirements, they were like, no, we want the best, people here. Like, They were like, your tattoos or your hair color has no impact on how well you work with autistic and special ed students. And that was a game changer. And then what's funny too is then you have parents coming in and they're like, oh my gosh, I also have a dragon tattoo. Like all of these things where you realize that all of these things like are just because you've always done it that a certain way, like it doesn't mean that that's actually the best way or a good way to do things.
And
here's a summary for the whole episode. That
was what I was going to say, is that the thing is that a lot of the people who are spreading this like, oh, traditional values and things like that, they forget that those values that they have are actually relatively new. Like, you know, when going back to holding hands in public with a straight person, back in Roman times, it was considered weird to even love your spouse, let alone show them affection. There was actually a Roman politician who got thrown out of democracy for kissing his wife in public.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And a lot, if you, okay, Greek culture, and then where I grew up in Egypt and in the Middle East. Okay, so Egyptian culture, Greek culture, and ancient, we're talking about, and the Romans, okay, all of these time periods that people really idolize and are like, this is, you know, these were the ideal civilizations, right? Okay, well, guess what? Then you should be greeting your male friends with a kiss. Like that is how the Roman greeting, like if we're going to go into when in Rome, you should be going and kissing your guy friends on the mouth, okay? Because like that's how you show how loyal you are to them.
A real Roman salute is going up to your homie and kissing him straight on the mouth. Just make out. That's the real Roman salute.
Exactly. That's how you know you're besties. Like that's legit. And so these are those kinds of things where we're like, you know, bless it.
And like even the fashion that they demonize, again, that is still that the fashion that they demonize is actually closer to the original fashion than what they're wearing now.
And look at men in the 80s. Oh, these rock bands. Come on.
Yeah. Or even because the thing is people from the 1700s would consider the way that men, specifically men, would consider the way men dress right now to be absolutely abhorrent.
Oh, yeah.
High heels were made for men.
Where are the stockings?
Pink and blue used to be switched.
Yeah.
Isn't that
all
right?
of this.
Pink used to be for boys. Blue used to be for girls.
Because men would wear pink powdered wigs. That's where pink for men came from.
Yes.
They would wear
Louis the 14th and stuff. It was very, So again, like if you look back through history, if you look at different cultures and civilizations, like everything's different. And so it's just rules are arbitrary and usually pretty silly. And so making adjustments that benefit everybody in your school, in your workplace, in your community is a good thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't think of the name of it, but there is a Dakota Fanning movie about autism.
Please stand by.
Yes.
Oh, is that it?
How do we feel?
Locked and loaded.
Thank you. How do we feel about that one? Because I put that one in my I'm okay with it. But I know that
I liked it though.
I
know it's not an autistic actress that we know of, or that she's come out and said. And that's the other thing, we don't know who's autistic or not sometimes, and some people might not disclose that.
Right.
But I do feel it was done respectfully. There is it's not perfect.
A couple parts, right?
There's
it's
some
not perfect.
things I like the way it ended. Was kind of not there for me, it kind of felt like it was more about the other people's perception of her than her own story, the way they chose to end it. And that's the thing that bothered me, but her character was really relatable.
That's the thing that upsets me about most autism movies is that the autistic person is just kind of, even if they're the main character, they're kind of not the main character and they're just yeeted off to the side.
Yeah. I mean, in that one, there definitely was a little bit of the inspiration thing and a little bit of the but I did appreciate, I feel like Toni Collette's role in that movie was to be the house manager. Like she was like the social worker, kind of like disability services provider. And having been in that experience, I was like, that felt very well researched. And I was like, okay, they've got people working on this film who actually are in the autistic community or who have a lot of experience there. This isn't just because it wasn't a woe is me scenario. It was much more like the day-to-day.
Yeah.
The schedule is this way and things are set and we have a routine. And so there were a number of things I appreciated about that one. So I feel like The Accountant is one that is like you've said, is that kind of in the middle list where it's like, even though it's not an autistic actor, it's still like not terrible.
It's
like
not terrible.
it doesn't cause harm. It feels relatable in certain ways.
I love the non-speaking character.
The what? Oh, yeah.
The non-speaking character, and when they reveal that at the end and they let her be a competent human being, and let her be really nuanced, I love that.
That's what sells me on the same every time. But that's hard. That's the scene for me that solidifies it and turns it from just like, I mean, it's not the worst autism movie to it. For me, this is just my personal opinion. That is my favorite autism movie. Specifically because one,
don't tell.
They
told everybody.
They show
we're recording it
right now. They show a variety of the autism spectrum, and on top of that, what I like, it is so antithetical to the "woe is me" style of autism. Specifically because this man is literally money laundering for the freaking cartels and shit, and also backstabbing them at the same time and getting them arrested. But he is a competent badass. Like, you do not fuck with him, and he's not relying on anyone else for that. And the fact that they show somebody who is completely autonomous and doesn't need that much support as an autistic person, balanced with the fact that there is somebody who will never live alone, and she needs constant support as an autistic person, but both of them are equal levels of badass. It is just showing that no matter what your support needs are, you are valuable. You can do things. You can be a human being and not just a tool, not just a burden. And they
lay out the neurodiversity viewpoint of autism.
Yeah, they do.
Like in the house, the doctor's like, your son's not, just different. And it talks about like, and I was like,
yeah.
Like
it was
that
very forward thinking.
Like what? Like I wasn't ready for that. I was like
especially
really ready
for time. You're right.
Yeah, I was ready for it to be bad. I mean, and it sounds cheesy, like a murdering accountant. Like what? Like who's autistic? It was like what?
Somebody compared it once to Good Will Hunting meets.
I like Good Will Hunting.
It's so true, but I love it.
Also, a really good movies. That's funny.
I mean, honestly, I can't think of any other like you guys. That's
Loop.
your
I like
favorite
Loop,
autism movie, but I can't.
Loop, like the Pixar short film Loop, where they're like, it's
that short film. Yeah, that was really well done.
And
it really was.
But I can't think of any movies though, like big real movies with like a specifically autistic character that I'm like, this is my
Lindsey,
favorite movie.
No.
Good to know how you see my movie, not a big real movie.
I was talking about Loop. But
no, I know.
I'm talking about like little shorts and things. I think because I am much more.
No, Lindsey, I was joking about the film I made.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I didn't take the bait. I didn't take the bait. I know about trolls. No, I think I've just watched way more television programming.
Yeah,
about autism than I have movies, and so I'm trying to think. Like music is terrible. Rain Man set us up for years and years of
have you
wrong
seen
stereotypes.
Adam?
I'm familiar with this setup. I never watched the whole thing, so I never was like, is it also awful?
I hate it. I've done a video essay on it.
I don't want to watch it.
It's about this guy. There are some benefits to it in the fact that it does show how big life changes like family death can affect an autistic person. I do like that. It does show a relationship between an autistic and a non-autistic person, but it frames autism as like meltdowns as violent towards other people, and it also frames autistic people like, I can only love you because you're somebody who does something for me. I don't actually feel true affection for you.
Oh, okay, that's icky. So they kind of did the whole like,
it's still dehumanized.
Autistics have no empathy.
Yeah, and he fucking stalks her. He stalks her.
Oh, no, I don't want to watch that. Okay. No, I was just trying to think of any other movies that were like decent besides The Accountant and the Dakota Fanning Star Trek movie. What is it?
The Please Stand By.
Please stand by. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really like. I can't think of any other ones. There's just been so many terrible ones that I'm like, do we have any decent?
Oh,
I don't think...
yes. Actually, wait. There's one that came out literally last year. I actually went to the premiere of it. Frick.
The little boy, but it's still about his father mostly, isn't it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because it was actually like it does tell the story of it is more of his dad's movie than it is of his. However, he is still a person. He is still like, he makes choices of his own. It highlights less of the like, oh, I'm a parent, I'm a bad parent, or I'm an autism parent, poor me, I'm struggling and this child teaches me how to love. It highlights his own irresponsibility being the difficult part between him and his son. It's not that he needs to learn how to love his son. He loves the son very much, to the point where he like will violently defend his son from people who are ableist towards him, which is, again, big problem. It's a big problem. But the film highlights that that's something he needs to overcome, and not because of his son, because his son doesn't change him. He realizes, like, not in that way. Like, it's not like, I hated you and now I have to learn how to love a human being because you're so delicate and anything. One of my favorite moments about it was because he's constantly pushing his child to do things that affect his sensory issues. It hurts his feelings, obviously. Like, it hurts the kid's feelings. And at one point, they yell at each other, and the dad is yelling at him, and he goes, why do you want me to speak if you never listen to what I say? You don't want me to speak. You want me to listen. And I was just like, that's powerful, honestly. And that's the thing that changes him. He realizes that he was wrong for pushing his son in a way that he wanted him to be.
Gotcha. Yeah. I still think, though, is we are still waiting. Like, we've had a couple good television shows, and we are still waiting for good.
Don't worry. Some of us are in an MFA program working on a screenplay for that. So don't worry.
Representation.
Coming in 2026. I'm going to put that out into the universe. You'll see my autism movie.
All right.
Ezra, that was the name of the movie.
Ezra, that is the name of the movie. Okay. So I think we've had such a great conversation about DEI and just inclusion and accommodations in the workplace and at school and in the community. You have a book all about this topic.
This book.
And it's called
Workplace Neurodiversity Rising. And this book is really a collaboration of everything that is wrong with the workplace and all of my experiences, because, I was in the workplace from the time I was 11, because I worked in the family business and the hair salon, and I didn't have a diagnosis until I was 29. So I'd already been in the workforce for over 15 years at that point. So I'd had a lot of different environments and different experiences. And once I had the diagnosis, it let me look back at my life and go, oh, I can clearly see all the times I failed had a lot to do with either a manager who wasn't willing to meet me where I was, or a workplace that just had policies and expectations that were completely unreasonable. It was just like, wow. And so, I started working with organizations, and I realized really quickly that I, as one person, can only do so much. And also, there are a lot of organizations I don't want to work with because I have a no a-hole policy. I only work with nice people. I only work with people who are genuinely kind and nice, and I don't work with jerks. Oh, the jerks can read the book and do it without my help because I put it into where it's really simple. Most of the things that need to be done don't even cost money. They just cost compassion, empathy, and kindness, and being willing to be curious and to set your assumptions aside. So it's set up in a way that you can jump around or just pick whatever you're called to start working on right away. You don't have to work it front to back. You don't even have to do all of it, because some organizations might be fine in some areas already. And so it's got these different areas that you can work on, and just pick whatever you're called to do. Because as an ADHDer, I feel like for a lot of us, like, if we have to go a specific way instead of just jumping into what we feel like we can work on right now, it's more intimidating. So it's just like, just pick something in here and do it. Just get
one
started.
thing.
It doesn't matter what you do, just do something, and then when you do that, do the next thing, then do the next thing. Just just get started. You just have to start. And so, with this, there's just no excuse not to do something.
I love that. And that is available on Amazon and
everywhere.
Barnes and Noble, everywhere.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can request it from your local library and they will get it. It is available for libraries to carry as well.
Support
yeah,
your
there's a
local
bunch of starts.
library.
Yeah. So
Great.
you can
And if-
request it if it's not at your bookstore too.
Yeah. And if people want to learn more from you and go seek you out somewhere, where can they find you?
I'm kind of all over the place as Neurodivergent Rebel. If you look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Red Note. But if you want to go to my central hub, my website is neurodivergentrebel.com. That's where my blogs are. I spend most of my time on Substack lately just because it's a nice little ecosystem that doesn't have a lot of really unpleasant, mean, nasty people. I hear they're there. They just don't come into my world. So that's good enough for me.
Okay, so Neurodivergent Rebel everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm all
Everywhere.
over. I'm everywhere.
Everywhere. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
This has been so exciting for us because you are like the OG autistic advocate. So this is very exciting.
Well, I'm a fan of both of you, so I just want to say, like, the love goes out in all directions.
Yay. Well, if you would like to find me, I am Brains and Spoons everywhere.
And I'm an unhinged gremlin, but I go by Rivera Bonbon.
And you can find Asking Autistics everywhere. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, hit buttons everywhere. And tell us what you think is the best accommodation or use of DEI accommodations.
And
that
tell
you've
us how
ever
you were going to
experienced.
use DEI to join our neurodivergent rebellion. We are following the neurodivergent rebel into battle. Battle for the accommodations.
Okay. All right. Bye.